Black has maybe two winning moves. One is to move the Black King out of the way, that red board on the right there, to shift the Black King just down one square, keep it on the edge of the board, just break the pin that the White Queen has set up. The other move is to play pawn to f5, break the 5th rank pin, and if the white pieces take, there are forks galore. That is game over if Magnus pushes his pawn 2 squares, the f-pawn.
Oh, that's beautiful, actually. That's a stunning move.
I don't think it will happen because of knight takes pawn, so...
What do you think? Does he go for the Armageddon or does he play on?
No, he plays on.
He plays on. He does play on.
He plays king to g4.
King to g4, not one of the best moves, but now look at the bar slide. Magnus has not found the right way to win here. The White Queen has to slide across and give a check. Arjun has only one move now. He must bring his queen across the 5th rank. That only is the beginning, though. Magnus is going to try and walk his king yet again round the front. It's always a king walk when it's Magnus Carlsen. It's always a king walk when it's Gukesh. It's always a king walk when it's Erigaisi, it feels like. This is going to be a fitting end to the tournament, no matter the result.
But Magnus's king walk against Gukesh with the black pieces did not go in his favor. He's trying to do it again, and this time against another Indian, against Arjun, as Arjun gets his queen to defend. There are a lot of checks on the board. The queen can go to e5 as well.
King goes to g3 and some big threats. The rook is threatening to swing over to f2.
You keep checking, right, Ivanka, if you're white?
Yeah, that's what you have to depend on. Queen to e5 check.
Where do you hide? Where does Magnus's king hide?
Only move, he's coming round the front. I think he's going to slide across the 3rd rank, that Black King, again on the red board. We're talking about the Magnus game right now. In the meantime, Fabi gave a check, brought the White Queen back. He's still got a huge advantage against Gukesh. Borderline winning now.
That's our board on the left. Complete domination of these 3 pieces. The queen, bishop and knight, the center of the board. Look at the way he's created disharmony between Gukesh's queen and rook. Offside rook, the d3 pawn, a weakness can be picked up. The queen on d8 doing nothing at all. The 3 pieces in the center dominate the black queen.
Yeah, and there you're seeing queen to e5. And, well, the big question is, where do you hide with the king when the queen is seeking it out? You can hide it on d1.
Oh, just walk across the board, Magnus. Wow, he's got so many pieces, though. Knights are a king's best friend, they do say. Knights are the only piece that can really shield a king from the glare of an enemy queen. So Black has 2 of those. It does feel like Magnus isn't risking much. Totally understand why he's doing this.
But he's under 3 minutes as well, right? You can see the White Queen sliding over to give a check from f5. Black hides on e3. I'm not sure where you continue the checks then. Do you bring your knight to d5? Is that the idea? After king e3, what is the move for Arjun Erigaisi to keep the game going? Because there are some big checks being threatened by Magnus. Give him one move and it's over for white.
You feel that if king to e3, that knight should come in to check, because otherwise there are no more checks on the board. And look at Magnus. He's managed to protect every single piece he has.
The knight protects the rook, the other knight protects the knight, the pawn protects the knight, the knight protects the other pawn, the king protects everything.
Just need to keep the king protected. That's the one thing. And, okay, which way is he going to go? If he goes back to the right, Magnus Carlsen, he repeats the position, gains a few seconds on the clock. I expect that. Whether he's going for the draw or not is another big question. A draw might be enough for Magnus, but he won't know that for certain.
And Arjun, instructive by him, right? When you're on the defense, you don't want to think about your moves for too long, giving those extra seconds to your opponent. He knows a draw is his best shot. He repeats instantly.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing also on the left that Gukesh is now ticking dangerously close to the minute mark. And his king is in big danger. Also, it's very difficult to come up with a good move.
Look at the clock situation for both Gukesh and Magnus under the 1.5 minute mark there. Gukesh, it looks like he's just frozen. He needs to make a move. But it's kind of difficult to even come up with a move for Black here.
Yeah, no good moves for Gukesh, that's the problem. Maybe best would be to throw away his pride and joy, the black d-pawn. Again, the blue board on the left there, to throw it away in order to try and trade queens. Black can push the pawn to d2 if it's captured by a white knight. You can offer a queen trade, but that endgame looks lost. It looks bad. Gukesh does not typically try to bail out into bad endgames. He'd rather take dynamic chances. Although it's looking difficult for him. Magnus moves his king, meanwhile, on the other board.
And Arjun immediately checks it for Gukesh. No good moves in bad position seems to be the storyline there on our board on the left. Now, a big question for Magnus Carlsen. Does he slide over to E3 to keep the game going, or will he, once again, having the opportunity, take it to Armageddon?
Yes, but big decision there for Magnus, because if he wins in Classical, that's it. He will be Norway champion for the 7th time. And for Gukesh, well, if he's looking like he's on the way to a loss, Fabiano Caruana is hoping that Arjun turns it around if he wants to be Norway champion. But Gukesh desperately trying to hold on, desperately looking for that draw, because at least then he will net 1 point and the pressure will be on Magnus.
Gukesh, though, his last move has turned a bad position into a dead lost one. He's actually going to lose his rook if Fabi slides his queen across and pins that piece. That being said, it's not over. At least in human terms, you do start to fear black's passed pawns. Fabiano still has a lot of time on the clock. Magnus, though, moment of truth, he plays for the win, the world #1. A draw would have been enough, surely, for him, but he goes for it. Again, I hear the Norwegian TV crew here getting very excited because Magnus Carlsen is taking a small risk here. He's allowed the white knight back with a check, and Magnus centralizes his king.
Yep.
And this isn't the first time Magnus has done this at the big stage. You know, it was in the World Championship match against Vichy where he continued to play, and it did pay off dividends. Magnus still on the clock there. For Gukesh, 15 seconds.
Yeah, Gukesh making that last move with just 5 seconds on the clock. And there we are seeing that Gukesh just lining up, giving up the rook in order to bank all counterplay on the passed d-pawn.
Okay, big news on both boards. This is a very tricky move from Gukesh, trying to push his pawn forward, trying to trick his way into saving that game. Magnus, meanwhile, about to reach out. Is he moving his rook? He grabs the pawn himself, the world #1. Is that a good move? Arjun Erigaisi now in only move territory yet again. Otherwise, black basically delivers checkmate. It's an extremely difficult move as well for Arjun. He needs to move his queen away and allow some nasty knight checks.
But you want your queen and king to be as far away from each other as possible, right? To not walk into any forks, but also calculate that you're not walking into checkmates with the 2 knights and the black king and the rook all ganged up against that white king. For Magnus, it's about hiding his own king. For Arjun, he needs to find a good square where the queen can start checking that king at the center of the board.
Also, there's a big threat on the board of the black rook sliding up, and the white king will be driven to the e2 square, upon which black can just simply go knight to g3. So there is danger lurking right now.
Where do you move the queen? Where is the right square? Where you can start not only defending your own queen against folk, but also get towards Magnus's king in the center.
Queen to d7, that's the right board. The red board there, he needs to line up the white queen with black's king, threaten some discovered checks, but that feels like it's playing with fire. If we do see that move, though, if Arjun does find it and he does have 6 minutes, then we might see some counter chances. Magnus is not entirely safe himself. Magnus might have to bail out at the right moment. There we see the blue arrow shows it. The only move for Arjun Erigaisi. Otherwise, he is lost. He can resign on the spot unless he finds it due to knight forks. Just to show you Ivanka's idea, if we see a pawn move, for example, the black rook will come down, check the white king, and the white queen turns out to be on a vulnerable forking square. So you need to move her away, get her out of that line of sight of the black knight. Queen to d7. Not easy at all.
And he finds it. He plays it. It's game on as Arjun lines up his queen against the black king. And now Magnus has to be careful. Knight b4, a big threat on the board.
Yeah.
Discovered checks everywhere.
And seconds left on the clock for Magnus. Okay, he's frozen a check just to get those extra 10 seconds. Arjun will step up with his king.
And every time the question, does now Magnus repeat? Does he feel that Arjun has the perfect defense? Does he feel that Arjun's created the counterplay?
Magnus should bail out, I think. Magnus should really bail out. Gukesh has no chances of winning his game. Gukesh is still losing over there, but should not be able to win.
4 seconds.
3
He's got
seconds.
3. He needs to make a move.
He does. He advances his rook, and there's still going to be hope left for Gukesh because that d-pawn is still alive.
He attacks the bishop, but c7 so tender. I still think it's not as over as the bar indicates on the Gukesh board as well. For Magnus, the pragmatic decision, go into Armageddon. The only way you lose the title there would be if Gukesh wins in Classical and takes it to that 3-point victory. Arjun, meanwhile, comes back, moment of truth, for the 3rd time in the Magnus versus Arjun. Does he go for a rook check or will he play on?
Magnus has 15 seconds left now. He's looking up at the big screen. He is about to decide whether to bail out with a draw or to go for it. If he goes for it, there is risk attached. Magnus Carlsen, 5 seconds.
5 seconds.
And that decision depends on Gokesh's board for Magnus. Three, make a move.
Oh, he throws in a check.
He made that move with a few seconds left. The position repeats itself. Arjun can now claim a draw. This will be the third time they reach this position if Arjun retreats his king. Magnus Carlsen, head in hands there, knows it's a draw.
And Arjun pauses. He's looking at it, and he's going to call the arbiter just about now to claim that draw, which will be given, taking it to the Armageddon. And the championship will rely on what happens on the Fabi versus Gokesh match as this goes into Armageddon.
Yeah, and there we see the arbiter stepping in, and
Magnus
we're expecting this game to be declared a draw. He's not happy because he hasn't yet secured the title.
And I think he realizes and he knows that this position, it should be winning for Black. He has to have his chances. Look at the piece construction. But he just didn't have enough time.